Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand from Denmark. Copenhagen is a city we are in and we are at the Parken Stadium, and what a beautiful stadium it is and what a beautiful city Copenhagen is. Two players from Denmark, we've got Christian Eriksen and Rasmus Højlund, and they will be here in their home country tomorrow night for the Champions League clash against FC Copenhagen. And FC Copenhagen, when this group was first announced, I think every Man United fan looked at that group and they thought, Copenhagen, home and away, we should be beating them. We should be getting 6 points off Copenhagen. But with Manchester United's poor start to the season and their troubles in the Champions League group, this has turned into a must-win game that I don't think a lot of Manchester United fans are overly confident in. I will say straight off the bat, I do think Manchester United will win here. An away game, which we know that we've struggled in, but the fact of the matter is we have to win. And we were just in the press conference for FC Copenhagen, and the manager was saying that we know that Manchester United aren't going through the best spell, but that doesn't change our game plan. We thought they were hard to break down. That's the conversation we had in the dressing room. We thought they were hard to break down at Old Trafford, but he said he thought it was a completely even game, 50-50, and Copenhagen are definitely confident coming into this game tomorrow night. And they should be. They honestly should be. Manchester United haven't been scoring many goals. We won against Fulham 1-0. VAR arguably should have been 2-0, but we have been struggling to score goals. Our forward line's been struggling to score goals. And away from home with these fans, the fans are going to be absolutely insane here tomorrow night. I mean, their manager said it's 100 times the atmosphere of what the likes of Old Trafford is in the Premier League. And our fans are going to be just over there as well, and they're going to be insane. But this is a game that Manchester United have to win despite the atmosphere, despite anything. And I do think they can win. The quality of our players overall are better than the quality of players of FC Copenhagen, but their manager is a young, progressive coach. He plays some fluid football. He played some good football at Old Trafford, and with the home fans behind them as well, you can expect a game that's going to be exciting. And I thought the Copenhagen game was exciting despite the fact it was only 1-0, but Onana's last-minute penalty save, that easily could have been 1-1, and you're looking at Manchester United having a really tough time of trying to get through the group then. We're still in a tough position. We still have to win here tomorrow night if we want to get through this group. And here is how I think Erik ten Hag is going to approach it. So, in the presser with us shortly coming up, we'll get to see about injuries and everything like that. The one thing I do know is that Kobbie Mainoo is with the youth team right now. I think he's playing in the youth league, so Kobbie Mainoo will not travel to Copenhagen with the team, which is a little bit disappointing, but Ten Hag's obviously just trying to ease him back in. Like I said, not too much pressure. He's only 18 years old. We know how good he can be. We know how good he was in pre-season, but there's no rush with players like this. I know that everybody wants to put a load of pressure on a young player, 18 years old. We know what his talent is. Let's ease him through, and I think Erik ten Hag can handle this one well, and I think he will handle it well. And I'm not particularly frustrated that he's not going to be part of the squad to come to Copenhagen. We should have more than enough in our armour to beat Copenhagen with the current squad that we have. But Copenhagen, since they played Manchester United, 3 games they've played and they've won them all, and they've actually been scoring quite a few goals. They've scored 4 goals in 2 of them games, so they can score goals, and that's something Manchester United has to watch out for. We've been a little bit more solid in defence recently. Obviously, when Manchester City came to Old Trafford, we sort of capitulated after that penalty, and that's the way things went. Manchester City, one of the best teams in the world, but Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire seems to be forming a little bit of that centre-back partnership, a very unexpected partnership for Manchester United, but Erik ten Hag seems to be trusting them. I've spoke to Ricky, who will be coming up shortly on this little video with us, and he thinks Johnny Evans will definitely start tomorrow night. He thinks he has to start as a left-sided centre-back. Whether it will be Varane or Maguire as a right-sided centre-back, we'll have to see. But this game, as I said, Eriksen's going to be in the presser, excited to speak to him. I do think, usually because the player does play and he starts the next game, that whenever they're in the presser, I do think it'll be a very similar team to what we saw against Fulham at the weekend. They've had a few days to rest and recover, and the big question is, obviously, will it be Garnacho on the left or will it be Rashford on the left? And to be honest with you, I have two different opinions on this. Be careful what I say in the likes of Marcus Rashford. But with Rashford, one thing I will say is I've absolutely loved Marcus Rashford ever since he came through the academy. I've always wanted him to do well, even when everyone was calling for him to go to PSG, when he was going through that bad vein of form under Rangnick. I always backed him. I always said he wanted to stay. I wanted him to sign the contract, but you're still going to be able to criticise players. That's just the way it is at Manchester United. And when I see a Manchester United player that I love so much, who's come through the academy, who's Manchester born and bred, walking around the pitch, and for me not putting in the performances that I know he's capable of, as a football fan, I'm going to comment on that, and I can have an opinion on that. Just the way when he was banging in goals and he was so high on form, I was praising him. Like, people were talking about him about being one of the best players in the world. He has such dips and highs in form. He needs to get that consistency, and he really does need to kickstart this season. Obviously, he had that injury which kept him out the Fulham game. Garnacho came in, played a great game. If it wasn't for VAR being, I would say, incompetent, He would have had an assist for McTominay. I thought he was our brightest attacking player. Obviously wasn't too hard in that game, but I think certain players, they need runs of games. And it's so hard to just come in and have a 10 out of 10 performance and then drop out again. And I'm not saying he had a 10 out of 10 performance, but players need a run of games. And I think Garnacho did enough in that Fulham game to secure his spot on the left-hand side. I mean, having Marcus Rashford from the bench, I mean, it's not a bad tool to have in your armour, is it? And maybe that will benefit him on confidence. You know, Garnacho comes off, Rashford comes in, and Rashford off the bench against tired legs here could really do damage. We know what his capabilities are. We know what he's like when he's on form. So for me, I would be starting Garnacho in this game. I think he deserves it. I think it would be unfair to drop him. Another thing I would be doing is I would be starting Facundo Pellistri. Again, backed Anthony since he came in, back players. And I've always said I think there's a good player there. But recently, I can't help but point out what I'm seeing. I thought Anthony was really, really poor in the Fulham game, and he's just seemed to get progressively worse throughout the game as well. I don't know what it is. Maybe he's suffering with, you know, the instances that have happened in his life off the pitch so far this season, and maybe it's affecting him mentally a little bit, because mentality is a huge thing in sports. Confidence, mentality, everything like maybe it's affecting him. If I was Erik ten Hag, you know how much stick Anthony's getting. You know the way he's playing. Like, I don't know what he's contributing to the team right now. I really don't. Like, for me, it feels like there's 10 men on the pitch at the moment with the way he's playing. And I hate to say that about a player. So, but I would be bringing Facundo Pellistri in. He's so exciting every time he plays. Yes, again, he's not exactly set the world alight on some of his performances, but players, especially young players at that age, they need a run of games and they need time. And Facundo Pellistri came on, he only got about 30 minutes in the Fulham game, but he made a massive difference. I thought he brought more energy than Anthony. I thought he was tracking down really well. I thought he was hunting. I thought he was fighting. And that goal that won us the game came from Facundo Pellistri pressing at the back, trying to get the ball off them, fighting for it, even when it looked like it was lost. He managed to get the assist into Bruno Fernandes, and that's a great assist for Facundo Pellistri in a match-winning goal for us. So I think he deserves to start. I really do. I just don't think you can look at Anthony and Pellistri and say, you know, yeah, Anthony starts again. I think Pellistri has to be rewarded, and I think it's a great example to set for the rest of the squad as well. If you come in, you make an impact, and you play well for this team, I'm going to give you your opportunity. Saying that, I love Erik ten Hag, I back Erik ten Hag. I think Erik ten Hag will play Anthony. It's his signing, it's his right winger. He paid near enough 90 million for him. I think he will play him. He clearly likes him a lot. Like he said, he backs him through this vein of form, and he's sure that he's going to become a good Manchester United player. I really hope he's right. I really do. But I think sometimes you've got to take a step back and look at what is the best for the team. And for me, I'd be playing a front three of Rasmus Højlund, Pellistri on the right and Garnacho on the left. The midfield, I would actually go with McTominay, Eriksen and Bruno again. I'd be tempted to maybe play McTominay and Mount, or McTominay and Amrabat. Probably McTominay and Amrabat, considering how we want to start off this game. We just don't want to concede early doors. We really don't. We want to keep it tight. We want to make sure that we don't concede to Copenhagen. So I probably would go with McTominay and Amrabat, McTominay and Eriksen. But I think he will go with McTominay and Eriksen. Eriksen's obviously in the presser, and I think that's a good decision. Eriksen got overrun in the Fulham game, he really did. It was not his best game whatsoever, but he's one of the only players in that team that actually can keep the ball down, pass it off, find some good passes. His crossing, especially from the right-hand side, is superb. Should have been a goal across to Garnacho, back over to Scott McTominay against Fulham, like I said, VAR, and he's done that a few times. He crossed it in at home against Copenhagen from that basically the same spot. I watched it back with Ricky, and obviously Harry Maguire got his head on it that time, and it was very similar circumstance in the game against Fulham. He's a player that can unlock doors for us. He can create. I don't like him in that deep role. I think on the counter-attack, it's a recipe for disaster, but he is a player who can keep the football on the floor, play football, and I think you need someone in there that's going to make it tick. Bruno's definitely going to play captain's goal. I love it, and hopefully he can continue that form now and keep it going. Bruno, for me, he's been trying so hard, getting everywhere on the pitch, and he's someone that's definitely there fighting for the manager. And I thought the team did fight against Fulham. I was proud of the team against Fulham. Was it our best performance? No. Was it a team that fought? Yes. And that's what I want from Manchester United. The least I expect every time you go onto the pitch is to fight for the badge. And these players should be fighting, because they should want to stay in the Champions League, and that is what is on the line here tomorrow night. Look at the defence. I would go with Wan-Bissaka right back. What a difference he makes. I absolutely love how much more secure the back four look with Wan-Bissaka in it. Willian's a great player, and he had him kind of locked down for most of the game. Really like Wan-Bissaka as that right back. The centre backs, I would go with Rafa Varane right side and probably Johnny Evans left side. Harry Maguire's been brilliant, do not get me wrong, but I do think you need to rotate, and I think Rafa Varane needs a game. Left back, I would go with Diogo Dalot. Really like him as a left back, and I just like him as an overall football player. Has he made mistakes? Yes. Is his attitude top notch? And do I think he's got a very high ceiling? Yes, I do. And I prefer him at left back to Reguilon right now. So that's the team I would go with. Get in the comments what you would go with down below and let me know your thoughts. I'm going to go with a score prediction of 2-1 to Manchester United. A close game. I think Copenhagen might sneak a goal. They look like they've played some good attacking, free-flowing football. But I think Man United will win this game. I think they have to win this game. I back my manager. I trust Erik ten Hag. And I'm excited to see, hopefully, some good football here tomorrow night. Get this result, go on to Luton at the weekend, then we've got Everton after that, get some results together and properly kick-start our season. Champions League nights, we don't want to drop down into the Europa. Come on, Manchester United, and yeah, everyone, join me after the match for all the good stuff as well, all the post-match content. Thank you for everyone for watching. Get your comments in down below, like the video, and come on, Manchester United. Okay, Ricky, you're in Copenhagen, a nostalgic city for you. We've got the game tonight. What are you expecting from Manchester United tonight?
More of the same of what we had on Saturday, I think. I don't think there'll be hardly a team change. There might be, I mean, Rashford might come back in, I believe he's fit, but if he does, I think that'll be the only change.
And you were saying at the weekend that that was one of the best performances that Manchester United have put together all season. Obviously, you weren't on the fan forum. Just explain a little bit of what you liked about that game.
We were more in control of the game, and we were better. Most fans only look at when you've got the ball and how players play when they've got the ball, even individual players, and I look at players without the ball as well and look at teams without the ball. And without the ball, it was our best performance of the season, without a doubt. Much more compact, much more difficult to break down. They had one good chance where they slipped somebody through the inside right channel, and I think they had a couple of shots from the edge of the box. And usually, after the game, we usually think, well, we could have let 4 in there, do you know what I mean? But it wasn't like that on Saturday at all.
Rafa Varane is fit and he's not really been able to get into the team as of recent games. Do you reckon Rafael Varane will come in tonight?
I can't see it. I think he'll, like as I've just said, if there is a change, I wouldn't make any changes. The only change I'd consider, if it was down to me, I might start Palestri. But at the same time, I don't mind Anthony starting. He does work hard, he does keep the ball well, and like I've just said, out of possession, he does his job. And I think that's important tonight. So I wouldn't mind him starting and Palestri perhaps coming on for half an hour again like he did on Saturday. I do like Palestri, and I think he's a real attacking threat. Much more of an attacking threat than Anthony. But I don't think that's vitally important from the offset. I think it's much more important later on. Interesting stuff,
Ricky, interesting stuff. Now, a lot of people are thinking, you know, Erik ten Hag bought Amrabat and Mount in the summer. Neither of them have really been able to secure a starting place in the starting 11. Scott McTominay is kind of occupying the midfield now, with Eriksen and Bruno seems to be his preferred midfield 3. Are you happy with that? Are you happy that Erik ten Hag's kind of converted to that midfield?
Yeah, I am happy with it. I think McTominay brings more athleticism and more agility. It gets about the pitch more. I mean, Casemiro can score goals, but McTominay's got at least as much goal threat as Casemiro as well as having that energy to get around the field. So 2 or 3 of the blocks that he got in on Saturday were excellent. I remember one where a lad, I can't remember who it was, it might have been Willian. I can't remember, but somebody got to the dead ball line and McTominay stuck out a long leg and blocked it for a corner. And it's a sort of thing that people see it but don't realise that someone who's a little bit slower and a little bit shorter, even the long legs help, you know what I mean? Casemiro or Amrabat might not have made that block, probably wouldn't have made that block.
Could have had a goal as well, could have had a goal.
Very unlucky to have that disallowed, McTominay, I thought.
Bruno scored a great goal as well.
Bruno took it really well. He took it really well.
One thing I will say though, Eriksen, I'm calling you Eriksen then, Ricky, is that we were discussing Eriksen and how good his crossing's been recently. Obviously, the Harry Maguire goal against Copenhagen the first time, managed to get a goal from that. But McTominay should have had a goal coming from Eriksen's cross again against Fulham. Didn't happen, unfortunately, because of VAR. I mean, the one thing about Eriksen that concerns me, and maybe, you know, when you're away from home especially, we saw it against Fulham, we were quite lucky, is Ten Hag's often playing him as the deepest midfielder, and he's not really got the physicality to be able to get around the pitch. Great on the football, but does it concern you that he's playing as the deepest lying midfielder? Would you prefer to have him a bit further forward?
I'm not sure that he's the deepest line midfield player. I think him and McTominay playing together, get up the park together and get back together. Okay. I think they both play deep when, you know, they both get into position when we haven't got the ball, and they both like to get forward as well. McTominay more into the box and Eriksen more outside the box.
Your fullbacks? What fullbacks would you go for? Big discussion. Would you stick with Dalot and Wan-Bissaka?
We've got to stick with that, yeah. I'm not been impressed by Reguilon, or however you pronounce it. Not been impressed with him one bit.
Reguilon.
Reguilon.
That's how you say it.
But,
it's Reguilon.
Right. So before Dalot played at left back at the weekend, I was thinking it was going to be Lindelof. Everyone was saying, oh, it's got to be Reguilon. He's a left back. Lindelof was miles better than him at left back, miles better. But I didn't even think of switching Dalot over, to be honest, and the manager did. And I thought Dalot had a good game there.
Do you think Rashford will come back in?
It's touch and go in it after everything that's been going on. He might feel under pressure to bring him back in. Garnacho doesn't deserve to lose his place after the performance at the weekend. As I say, hardly anybody does really. So it's touching. I'm guessing. I don't really know.
And last but not least, any final words on Copenhagen? Do they worry you? Does the type of football they play worry you? And what is your score prediction for the game?
Well, the way they played at Old Trafford, they would worry me. They played really well at Old Trafford, and they kept the ball for long periods. We didn't have control of the game at all. But there's quite a few differences, I think, in our team. Johnny Evans didn't play in that game. He gives us control at the back. He organises the back four great. His passing into midfield is second to none. And then we've obviously, I know Eriksen came on at half-time in that game, but I think Evans and Eriksen will give us a lot more control tonight, and I fancy us to win.
What's your scoreline?
I'll go 2-0.
Who's scoring the goals?
Eriksen and Rashford.
Woo! Okay, any last words, Ricky, for the fans?
Come on, United, that'll do.